Welcome, special episode. They're all special to me, but this is the first episode of the new year, the new calendar year. So it's episode number 121. It's kind of like a tribute to me. It's kind of like a what if to me. I had so that being the first day of the year, I thought, well, eventually I'm going to talk about my heart attack story. And I thought, well, maybe I should just do it today. After all, it was actually October 6th of 1996. When I almost didn't make it. I'll tell you a little bit about that and the little before that and after that. I didn't do it this year when I was doing the podcast in October because ironically, the October 6th falls exactly in between my wife's birthday and my mom's birthday. And so I thought, well, I'm going to take a very positive tone. I'm going to say a few nice things about each of them and their influence on me, my awesome wife, in terms of how helpful she was in getting this podcast going. And I promised her I wouldn't do a birthday episode for her every year. And I've also promised my mom, and neither one of them like a lot of attention. They don't want to be ignored, but they don't want a lot of attention. They said this podcast thing's going to get pretty old if if every time on our birthday we've got to worry about what you're going to say, even though it's all good and it's all nice. So that's why I didn't do it in October, and that's why I just think it's the first day of the year. A lot of after you've had a heart attack, it's and you come back, it's kind of a restart. It's a little bit of a 2.0. It certainly was a before and after with respect to my running Beckett Publications, and that was traumatic, and but still, you know, I'm here to tell about it. So God wasn't finished with me at that point. So I get a restart. I want to thank the sponsors, many of whom I knew back in the day. ComC I didn't know Tim at that time, and as Rich points out, he was a collector, was active, but wasn't doing ComC, but Beckett Publications, which has become Beckett Media. Beckett Grading was probably contemplated back in '96, but not because it's something that I think eventually would have happened, but it didn't happen until a little bit later. And Beckett Authentication, we were doing some of those things, but not as formally and not as well as they're doing right now. Huggins & Scott, Heritage Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, and of course Topps, Upper Deck, and Panini. So it was a Sunday morning. I woke up with chest pressure. Again, if anybody's listening to this that's a male, or actually females can get heart attacks too. They don't get them quite as the statistical tendency is that women don't have heart attacks later in age than men do, but men that have stress in their lives and can for a combination of things. They don't know the whole story, but my cholesterol was high. But for some reason, when I'm having this chest pressure and all the classic symptoms, kind of like an indigestion and a left arm being a little numb, and somebody felt like there's somebody standing on my chest. But it's 6:30 on a Sunday morning, and I just think it must be the Mexican food I had the night before. Like I said, I'm a really smart guy in some ways, but everybody's got blind spots, and nobody's smart in every way. So, fortunately, I got to the hospital with really about 3 minutes to spare. I kind of dropped dead after just barely getting to the hospital. There was an off-duty cardiologist walking down the hall, just providentially on a Sunday morning. He did his rounds so that he could then go to church on time, but he took a little time out as he's coming down the hall. Here's the code, and runs in and gives me life-giving procedures. Actually, there's some drugs and some other interventions that they would have been painful, except I was completely out of it. So very thankful to be, like I said, having a second chance, and for that doctor who was able to give me not just the emergency room people, but a technically very, very strong and well-respected cardiologist who just happened to be finishing his Sunday morning round. So how blessed is that? So it wasn't my time, and as I said, God wasn't finished with me, but and I was still running and being involved with Beckett Publications. I'd really taken a pretty giant step back from the pricing the summer before, which is, again, there's no irony in that, I don't think, but in my mind, but it's just something that happened. I did a lot more delegating in '96 than I did in any other prior year. Took a big family vacation that summer, and I just thought, I'd been kind of the backstop, the goalie for the pricing increasingly, and a lot of the really outstanding guys we had were doing a lot of it, and just for me to pull back completely and just say, look, you guys are good. You guys are great. You're going to do it. And that's what happened. So, but ironically, I take a big vacation, and the next thing that's interesting, I think, to some people is that then I cold turkey went off caffeine, which was really just drinking Cokes every day. So I quit having Cokes, quit having any caffeine, and then shortly thereafter, I'm dropping dead of a heart attack. So go figure. I had a mentor that was very helpful to me, and he really, I had several mentors actually. I'm a big believer in multiple mentors that don't put all your eggs in one basket. But one of them just said, you keep focusing on what you do best, and I'd like to see you shift that to focusing on what only you can do. You can't delegate certain things. You can't delegate being a husband and father. You can't delegate your diet. You can't delegate your exercise. You can't say, hey, I'm tired. Can I get somebody to go take a nap for me? That doesn't make any sense. But he said, if you're the best in the world at doing something, he said it this way. He said, when I'm asked to be on a board and they say, we've searched far and wide, you're the best person in the world. There's nobody better. Then his retort was, well, I'm full. I don't have time for being on another board. And they said, yeah, but you're the best. You're the best. We've got to have you. And he said, well, who's number two? And they said, well, number two, there's another guy out there. He's not as good as you. He's way down there. But he's number two. He said, well, he's number two in the world. And you say I'm number one. What about, why don't you give me his phone number? I'll give him a call and I'll bring him up to speed so he can pass me up. And so he said to me, he said, you have, even if you're the guy that founded this thing and you have all this special knowledge, but I understand you have a team under you and there's other people that do this kind of stuff. If we just set you aside, you say, what if you are number one? If it's something that you do best, who's number two? Who's number three? Who's number four? Who's number five? Maybe there's somebody in the top 10 that could be that could be brought up to speed where you could take a step back and they could step in and you could help them, and within some period of time they would be better than you were. And I was so embarrassed that I kind of made a list of the top 10 guys in the industry that I thought that I really respected and that were that if something happened to me, again, this is the year before my heart attack. This is not after my heart attack. So I said, okay. So I came back. I said, I made my list of 10. And this guy, he was in town and he knew me pretty well. He was older than my dad actually, but a very well respected guy. He said, it's amazing when these wise people ask you questions when they already know the answer. He said, well, just tell me this, how many of the top 10 people in the world at Pricing Cards, currently work for you? And I said, well, 7. And he said, well, why, do you have your answer? And so I did. I said, I've got all these star employees. We had a bunch of people doing pricing and again, they all worked together, but again, we had guys kind of that were dominant in each sport. And I didn't need to have somebody like me who originally was doing all the sports. I just needed somebody that was for each sport. And that was and so again, that happened in the summer. That I thought, well, okay, I guess I could take a vacation and I just get with each of these 7 guys. Actually, there were mainly 4 or 5 with the respective magazines who were doing, and just say, look, you're good. I'm not superfluous. I'm adding value, but the value that I'm adding is less each year because I'm just juggling too many things. And so I did. We had a fabulous family vacation for a number of weeks. It was less than a month, but probably 3 weeks. First time I'd been really gone for more than about a week. And, that was a good thing. On the other hand, I dropped dead of a heart attack. Okay. So after the heart attack, what's the sports card insights there? I'm coming back to a company that has dealt with a baseball card strike and needed to diversify in some respects. And so we did that. We added some new things we were doing. All the magazines and books were pretty mature. We obviously moved into grading. And so I don't know that all those things would have happened without my heart attack. I don't want to presume that, but it was a restart. And it was a restart with me having a better reflection of how outstanding, the team that had been put together at Beckett Publications was, and, how that it wasn't just about baseball cards. It wasn't just about one monthly magazine. We had a bunch of magazines. We had a bunch of other sports products, and again, grading came up. The internet was was emerging, and it became a way more complicated company where if I were just doing pricing, which I love doing, or just doing pricing, it would not have been the best use of my time. So I had to be a true president. And then when it got even more complicated, I had to have other kind of divisional presidents where people were in charge of certain lines of business. I had to be a true CEO. And thankfully I had mostly guys. Again, there's some women CEOs out there that I knew as well, but mostly men, who had been in, somewhat similar moccasins I started meeting regularly in a different, again, mostly men's groups where you could just share, the fact that not everybody has a heart attack, but everybody has challenges in their life. And, if they try to go it alone, that actually probably is a recipe for a heart attack. So, doing the journey together, with your, wife and family and friends is a good thing. Holding the stress into yourself, not a good thing. So that was my restart actually I would say it was late 96, and I was in the hospital for a week, and then I, really came back kind of slow, but by 97, I was back in there. And again, I've always enjoyed working. Maybe I enjoyed working too much, but I enjoyed working. And, I kind of got into more of an executive role, more of a, thinking along those lines. And like I said, I had some mentors and some, encouraging friends to, help me see that was, my highest and best use. I will later do, a personal episode about what it was like, selling a company, which came a number of years later. It's really poignant and tricky to sell a company that has your name on it. But, people's identity should not be completely wrapped up in their work. It should, I have, other things that I do that make me who I am. I loved, the early days of the company. I loved those days in the 90s, the 2000, but by early 2005 is when I sold. So I'll get to that in a future episode and be able to share some of the, I guess positives and negatives, mostly positives, almost all positives, but, heart attack, same thing. What could have been a very big negative, has really become a positive. I love my life right now. I really enjoy being encouragement to my, former employees and other people in the industry. And this podcast is a reflection of that. I don't miss the deadlines every week, and making payroll for a bunch of great teammates. But, that was that season of life, and this new season that allows me to enjoy the podcast and go to the national convention and just be a collector instead of being some kind of a guy that's got to walk around and answer a bunch of questions and be in charge of a bunch of things. So again, I hope you're finding your niche in this hobby. I hope you don't have to have a heart attack to figure out that life is precious, and taking it one day at a time is a good thing. So thanks for listening. As I've said, I promise I won't do personal episodes all the time. Next year, when it's the first day of 2021, I'm not going to talk about my heart attack again, but I'm going to try to share sports card insights that relate to my journey and my company's journey. So again, thanks for listening. Be back again tomorrow with another episode, which I know you will like.